The origins of Islam. Islam finds its origins in the Arabian Peninsula in the trading city of Mecca. After Muhammad's death, the Arabs expanded out of the empire that moved beyond the Arabian Peninsula from Spain to modern-day Pakistan. The great capital cities of the first Arab Islamic empires were Damascus and Baghdad, not located in Arabia, but in the long-settled lands of the first human civilizations. This is especially true during the golden age of Islam under the Abbasid Empire. Ancient Near Eastern civilization began to develop within city-states that first appeared in Lower Iraq or Mesopotamia around 3500 BCE. These settled communities developed written alphabets, governing institutions, and elaborate religious rituals. By 2400 BCE, larger political entities began to emerge in the form of regional empires in which several cities were incorporated into a single state. Over the course of centuries, improvements in architectural, military technology, in transportation and communications, and in social and administration organizations enabled empires to dominate increasingly extensive territories. The first culmination of this was really in Egypt's Nile Valley. Similar process occurred in the Arabian Plateau rather, based in the Achaemenid Empire from 550 to 331 BCE. In the wake of Alexander the Great in the 4th century BC, the lands from Iran to the Mediterranean Sea were absorbed into yet another layer of tradition as Greek implanted the language of administration of high culture. This would have been the Greek language in Hellenistic culture. The absorption of new ideas and techniques continue with the Roman conquest and the consolidation of Rome's efficient administrative practices in the empire's form from 27 to 476 CE, although the Roman Republic emerged in the 3rd century BC. The Byzantine Empire remained dominant in the east after the fall of Western Rome and really helped to establish uniform rule in the Near Eastern cultures just prior to the emergence of the Prophet Muhammad. Formative Islam interacted not only with these existing material cultures, but with well-established religious beliefs and practices. At the time of the rise of Islam, local and regional cultures throughout still practiced local deities and animistic religious cults, but had been subsumed for the most part by dominant religious traditions that had become unified as a formation as empires developed. The emergence of monotheism, the belief in the supremacy of one God, emerged during this time as continued unification across imperial lines emerged. By the time the Arab Islamic conquest, most inhabitants of the Middle East belonged to one of 3 monotheistic faiths. Judaism, which was the first monotheistic faith, and although Jews had been dispersed from Palestine by the Romans in the 1st and 2nd centuries, Jewish communities continued to flourish in the Middle East. Zoroastrianism, which was a religious and philosophical movement in the 7th century BC, which followed the Iranian prophet Zoroaster, who preached a doctrine of monotheism, which brought into other types of polytheistic faiths. Zoroastrianism is often referred to as sort of the foundation for later pantheistic movements. Christianity grew rapidly from Roman times onward and was proclaimed to be the state religion of the Byzantine Empire in the late 4th century AD. Developed a number of communities in Syria and in Egypt. So Islam unified Greco-Christian territories of Byzantium and the land of the Iranian Zoroastrianism into a single religiously based universal empire. The encounter between new faith of Islam and the established traditions of the Middle East led to the creation for a new civilization that was profoundly and unmistakably Islamic, yet also bore evidence of centuries of accumulated practices that had preceded it. It's looking at the rise and expansion of Islam. The Romans, or the Byzantines in the west, and the Sassanid Empire in the east were conflicting or fighting, had conflict with each other. It's important to understand that Islam was shaped not just by the culture that it originated in, but also the cultures that it went into. So both of these empires, both of these cultures, had an influence over Islam. In the 7th century, the Arabian Peninsula was largely nomadic, lacking any type of central organizing authority. Competition for scarce resources contributed to widespread experience of warfare, which would also be a significant factor in the spread of early Islam. A poetic oral tradition would also be significant for the spread of Islam because it continued to be able, or lend itself to be communicated quickly by Arab-speaking traders across an expansive territory. Wars between Byzantium and the Sassanid disrupted east-west travel, which gave increasing rise to north-south trade route, which Mecca was at the very center. It is here that Islam finds its origins in the Prophet Muhammad bin Abdullah, who would be the future prophet of Islam, was born in Mecca around 570 AD.